Oh, so you guys want to hear a story of how I split my tongue? So I got my tongue split. I split it while I was in prison too. So I was in prison. Boom. This is 2009. I was on a reception yard in Donovan. And due to prison overcrowding at that time, the prison was so overcrowded that in reception, they were putting bunks in the day room as well. They had inmates that were in the cells. They also had bunks in the day room, about 40 inmates in the day room at that time. And they had 10 of each race in the day room. 10 whites, 10 blacks, 10 Asians, 10 Mexicans. So there was 40 inmates in the day room. And I was one of the 10 that was out there for the Asians, right? And I remember I was mobbing, I was sweeping. I was pushing a dust mop around, right? And I bent the corner because the day room, there's two sides to the day room. There's like a center. It's kind of like shaped like a U. And the sticks on the U is where all the bunks are, right? So there's two sides. And I went on the other side and I was pushing the dust mop. And I see some dude. I seen these two dudes. One had his back against the wall and he looked like he was in super pain. And I seen another dude who had his back towards me and he was in front of the dude that had his back towards the wall. So I'm looking at a dude from behind and a dude that has back against the wall looking at me, right? So I kind of like playing the dummy role like I'm dust mopping, but actually I'm looking out the corner of my eye as I'm getting closer, like getting around to see what's going on. And basically what I saw was this dude was standing in front of this other dude, the dude that had his back against the wall. The dude that had his back against the wall, he had his tongue out, and the dude that was standing in front of him had a piece of string through his tongue, and he was going like this with the string, and he was sawing the dude's tongue, splitting his tongue. So when I went like that and I look, I see blood dripping out, and the dude's just right there, like going like this with the string, and the dude's like against the wall, and the dude cut his tongue, bam, his tongue split, and gang of blood started coming out, right? I was like, damn, that was crazy. I ain't never seen anyone do that in my life, right? I said, that's crazy, but it's also gangster at the same time, right? So I was like, woo-wee. I like I can't say certain stuff on live, but you know what I mean? That turned me on, right? I was like, yeah, I like that, right? So it kept on I kept on thinking about it throughout the day. I was like, man, that was dope. That was dope. But I bet you it was hella painful. But like I said, I'm the type of person who likes pain. I like to take pain to see if I could like mentally suppress the feeling of pain and control it instead of it controlling me, right? So I went and got at the dude that cut old boy's tongue. His name was Shorty. He was a Mexican dude from where the hell was Shorty from? I can't even remember. But I went and got Shorty and I was like, hey Shorty, like how do you do that? And he was like, so basically what you do is you get like from an Afro pick, you get one of the teeth of an Afro pick and you sharpen it. You sharpen it to a point, then you get a paper clip and you drill a hole to the other end of the point of the Afro pick's tooth. And then you thread some string through, then you pierce your tongue and you thread the string through your tongue, then you saw it, right? And he's like, you want me to do it for you? And I was like, hell to the no. Like, you ain't gonna do that to me. I'm gonna do it to myself, right? So I did everything you said. I sharpened up a Afro pick tooth, threaded the thread through, yada yada yada. And I had one of my homies pierce my tongue for me. So one of my homies pierced my tongue. And so he threaded the string through, right? And then I took a mirror and I stuck it up against the locker. And now you understand, I'm in the middle of a day room. And there's bottom tier cells and there's top tier cells. And everybody's in the cell, they're bored. They're not reading a book. They ain't got no, because we're in a reception yard. They ain't got nothing to do but talk to each other or look out the day room window. So a gang of people were looking out the day room window and they see me in the dorm standing in front of a locker with string hanging out my mouth and a mirror in front of me. And I'm like this. And I got my tongue out and I'm sawing it. And everybody's talking like, hey, look at this crazy ass fool. Look at, and they are calling me by my nickname. Look at you, Wooty Woo. Look what he's doing, right? And so when it was painful, but when you got like all eyes on you and you're supposed to be like some kind of somebody, you had no choice but to go through with it, right? So I was sawing it and I was like, ooh, wait, this sucker hurt, right? And I wanted to stop. Like in my mind, I was like, ooh, ah, like I can't do it, right? But everybody in the mama was looking. All the homies was looking. Everybody in the cell was looking. Everybody in David was looking. So I was just like, man. Because I was sawing it slowly at first. I was like, man, you better go ahead and just get through with this. So I just like, yeah. And I said, and I sawed it. Boom. And it cut. Boom. And then a gang of blood started leaking out. Blood was pouring out of my mouth. I thought I was going to bleed out, right? My homeboy gave me a brand new sock. He barred it up and I stuck it in my mouth. But it wouldn't stop bleeding. So my homies went and they made some fire and they heated up some metal. And my homeboy was like, Danny, we gotta cauterize your tongue to stop it from bleeding or you're gonna bleed out. And I was like, what the hell does cauterize mean, right? I ain't never heard of the word cauterize in my life. I'm from the hood. We don't say cauterize. Like, who the hell says that, right? So the homie's like, yeah, we gotta cauterize your tongue or you're gonna bleed out. And here I am with a sock in my mouth, like, bruh, blood coming out of my mouth and the sock was all bloody. I was like, bruh, what the hell does cauterize mean, right? And he said, we gotta heat up some metal and we gotta burn your tongue and stop the bleeding. I was like, no, you're not. Like, no, you're not, right? But the homies, they had so much love for me. Like, I was calling shots at that time for the yard for all the homies. So their whole thought process was kind of like, what are we gonna do without the big homie, right? So what they did, a group of them just came. They made like a decision, and they said, you know what? We're just gonna grab the homie. We're gonna hold him down, and someone's gonna come with a hot piece of metal and cauterize his tongue. So here I am over here, like sitting on the bunk, like with a sock in my mouth, thinking like, man, I'm bleeding out. Is this sock gonna stop the bleeding or what, right? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, from behind, my big old tonguing homie, he grabbed me from behind and brought me down on the bunk. And some homies came in from the front and pushed me down on my chest. And the homie came from the side with a hot ass piece of burning hot metal. And some other homies grabbed my mouth, opened my mouth, and pulled my tongue out. And some homies just holding my tongue open. And the homie came from the side with the hot ass piece of metal and just cauterized my tongue. I was like, ah! And then they cauterized one side, so they had to do the other. And I was like, so the homie had to go back and heat the piece of metal back up to get it hotter. And I was like, man, when y'all let me go, I'm about to mess everybody up, right? And they're like, who cares? We need you here with us. So we'd rather have you here beating us up than have you dead, right? So they made it like an executive decision. They said, we're going to save the homie's life, whether he wants us to or not. So the homie doubled back, came back again, and cauterized the other side of my tongue. And it actually worked, though. You know what I'm saying? It actually worked. And yeah, that's how I ended up splitting my tongue. That's the story.